Jared and Joel, congratulations on Boy Erased.
Thank you.
Such a beautiful, powerful film. Unfortunately, gay conversion therapy is something that's still being practiced out there in parts of our country and the world. So, in making Boy Erased, as a filmmaker, Joel, and as the subject matter, what are some of the parameters that you set to make sure that the drama's point gets across without hammering people in the head or being preachy about it?
Well, I wanted to be honest about what I learned from Garrard's experience in reading his book was that it was more complicated than I initially thought. It wasn't just born out of hatred. It wasn't hateful parents just going, get in there and or we'll never love you again. There was true desire to help. The intention was to help and to love but the lack of information and the beliefs educating a family and a community meant that it was far more complicated than creating black and white heroes and villains. So it was important for me to really understand all angles and to really just make sure that I made it about Garrard's family, because I think the way to speak to a lot of people is to focus in on one person's experience, because one person's experience is bound to be common to a bunch of other people, rather than try and say everything that can be said about conversion therapy, because there are a lot of different places that operate in very different ways.
And, I think from the beginning we wanted to really educate parents and people around LGBTQ youth, because that's often all they have in terms of allies and in terms of their safety. So, with my book, I wanted to make sure that people through my mom had a sort of roadmap to do better, to act better around people. And Joel helped with that project immensely.
So do you think movies like Boy Erased can bring about the change that we desperately need in this polarizing time in our society? Or because it seems that there's still percentage out there that prioritizes obedience and conformity over love.
It can contribute.
I mean, I would say that, no matter where you are on the political spectrum or the religious spectrum, if you think that human rights are up for debate, there's something wrong. Like, that's sort of an objectively wrong stance. It shouldn't be a controversial thing to say, but it is. But, we're not attacking religion. We're not attacking people who believe differently in some ways, but we are saying, recognize this as torture, recognize that people can't change, and it's not a sin to be LGBTQ.
Joel?
Yeah.
Well, I just think it can contribute in some way. To think that one movie can save the world. But it shouldn't stop people from making movies to think that you just, like, if the more voices in the chorus, the better the sound. And I think that we are part of a multi-pronged attack. I mean, there's a miseducation of Cameron Post that came out earlier this year. It means that it's in the ether, not just that it's out there being practiced, but there's a bunch of people who want to gang up on it to end it. We have a podcast called ERASED, which Garrard has produced with Radiolab in conjunction with the film to give a broader understanding of conversion therapy. So there's other things that we're doing to educate. So it's there for people to learn from.
Yeah, and we're hoping that this inspires a lot of more survivors to come forward and tell their own stories. People who are trans who've had conversion therapy stories, people who are people of color who've had these stories. We want to make sure that this opens up a bigger dialogue in the country.
Well, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations on Boy Erased.
Thank you so much.